Hello, this is Lisa from Darn Yarn. Today I'm going to try to use graph paper to explain why gauge is important. Swatching is something that knitters and crocheters, many of us do not like doing. A lot of people think it's a waste of time or a waste of perfectly good yarn, but it can be critical if you're trying to make something that fits. So again, I'm hoping to explain why using some simple graph paper. It might get a little confusing. I'm not going to go too much into the math of, extending it out and figuring out exactly how big or small something is. So a lot of patterns give you a gauge it's usually in 4 inches, because the larger the swatch, the more accurate your stitches will be. And when I refer to stitches, I am just referring to stitches. Because the math and the way you would figure the gauge out works the same whether you're knitting or crocheting. The difference is whether you're counting crochet stitches or knits and purls, that's all. So again, when designers give you a gauge, it's usually in a 4-inch measurement. We're going to use 1 inch and then extend it out to 4 inch rather than 4 inch extending it out to the size of the garment, just because it's easier to visualize on one piece of paper. So if the gauge given to you in your pattern is 5 stitches equals 1 inch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That pattern is written so that every inch will have 5 stitches in it. And the math for the pattern is written that way. Now let's suppose when you work your swatch, you come up with your 5 stitches makes a larger swatch. You only have 4 stitches per inch, so that 5th stitch extends your swatch out by a little bit. Doesn't look like that much, but if we take that and extend it out to a 4-inch swatch, so at 5 stitches for 4 inches, that gives us the 20 stitches in 4 inches. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's what our gauge is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What should be 4 inches, based on our gauge that we are getting, now becomes a 5-inch piece. So you can see if you were to extend that out even farther, so if we're doing a 40-inch sweater, there are 10 4-inch segments in 40 inches. So that means our final piece will be 10 inches larger. That is a big difference. If this is where you find yourself often making larger swatches and fewer stitches per inch, you need to go down a needle or hook size, because that will make your stitches smaller, which will then get you closer to the 5 stitches per inch. Now let's reverse this. If you're like me and this is not where you find yourself, I tend to, be under a lot of stress or something, because I knit and crochet tight. So if our gauge is 4 stitches per inch, and I'm reversing this again just because I can do the math and I figured it out that it shows up visually nicely. So if the pattern calls for 4 stitches per inch, that means we're going to have 16 stitches in our 4 inches. But when I knit tight, I'm getting 5 stitches per inch. So I should have 16 stitches over 4 inches. but my 16 stitches is going to come a lot closer to 3 inches. It's just a tad over, so we'll say that's a 1/4 inch, which means that for every 4 inches of my pattern, my piece is going to be 3/4 inches smaller. So again, that is significant. Frequently, I will simply figure out, okay, this is the case, and I will figure out which size larger I need to make. But that is up to you. If this is where you find yourself and your piece is always smaller, you need to go up a needle or a hook size to try and get closer to your 4 stitches per inch. I hope that helped. For some of you, it might not clear it up at all, but I'm just hoping that the visual representation helps.